whatever whatever I've learned through this journey with all of you. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen.
We can see your screen.
Okay, you're still able to see the slideshow?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so I'm I didn't quite know if you all were going to attend with your kids. Like if your kids are around and they want to sit in and listen, please encourage them to do so because this is as much their journey, not yours actually. So you're just like a supporting member of that journey. You're not the actual one that is traveling this. It's completely owned by them. So if they are available and they are interested, please have them join you. So this is about supporting your teen's journey into higher education. And I just want to start with a very, solid disclaimer and a statutory warning. There's going to be an information overload in the following slides. Like there's I don't know, like if you're already familiar with the process, how many of you have like seniors or juniors, you're already familiar with this process, but I'm going to go through a lot of information. So there's going to be information overload. If you're a person that gets anxious very easily, I would say, don't worry about it. Drop off, go away, have a nice snack, enjoy your evening. You know, you don't need any of this information. Your kid will be fine. Okay. So don't worry about it. And I also want to do a disclaimer that I'm not like a registered like college counselor or anything. This is just things that I learned by putting two of my kids through college. I've also helped a lot of like my community, like, within my high school district, or all of the parents in that community, plus a lot of my friends, help them again, help their teenagers with their journey. So it's all what I've learned that I'm about to share with you. So this is kind of like the agenda for the evening, have some basic introduction, go over the basics of college application and the timeline, talk about standardized tests, to think about AP classes, finding the right college that is right for you, plan your college visits, the paying for college. I'm going to mention briefly because I'm pretty sure Ashok is probably going to cover a lot more in the later session, and forming your support system. Like you are the support system for your teenagers, so how do you help them thrive? Is all about it. And I also have resources towards the end. I have a set of link. I'll share these slides after this session, so you can refer back to it if you need to. Okay, quick introduction about myself. Like Ashok mentioned, yeah, I've been in the tech industry for 25 plus years. I've worked in many of the FANG companies. I do not own, I have a MS in CS plus a PhD that is half completed from Stanford. I have a son and a daughter. My son completed his BScs from UCLA, and my daughter is doing a double major CS and Psych from University of Michigan at Ann Arbor. So that's just a brief introduction about myself. And the TLDR, like if you don't have any time, like if you want to drop off for dinner or anything, okay, this is the TLDR. College planning is unique, right? Nobody's journey is like anybody else's. So it is kind of moot to compare, say, like, hey, my kid has this GPA, this SAT score, this extracurriculars, and this other kid has this. Why are their college admissions so different? It's going to be that way. It is going to be different.
அது வரல
Every
இல்லையா?
journey is unique.
ஹாசினி
Okay, every journey is going to be unique, right? It depends on on the student, their interests, the fit of the college that they choose. Okay, there is no one size fits all. That's the bottom line. There is no one size fits all. And if you're looking for a magic formula, I'm going to burst your bubble right now. There is none. There's no magic formula. There are mechanics of the college admission process. There are due diligence that you need to do. There are like research that you need to do, but there is no magic formula here. with that, I just want to jump directly into the college planning timeline. How, uh, who, I don't know, quick show of hands, like how many people like have like already have high schoolers, and how many of you like your kids are not high schoolers yet? Maybe high schoolers. How many of you are parents of high schoolers?
I've got a high schooler.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, there are a few parents of high schoolers. Um, I'm guessing the others have kids like that are younger and probably entering, or you want to get ahead of the game. Kudos to you. You know, you're in the right place. Your at least your head is in the right place. Your planning for high school actually starts before high school, unfortunately. Your planning for college also starts before high school. And I don't want to go too much into the details of it because your high school guidance counselor is probably a better person to talk to in these cases. But before your freshman, and when I put these timeline, I'm talking about the summer before, right? Like for each one of this, summer before, right? So summer before your freshman year, the first thing you need to do is plan your high school journey. You know, think about like what courses you're going to take, what are your interests, what are your extracurriculars, you know, plan for it. Like if you're are you going to be in band, are you going to do a sport, are you doing anything outside of school for your extracurriculars, what kind of classes are you planning on taking, are you planning on taking APs, what are the prerequisites for it, you know. It usually helps if you just have like a 4-year plan. Now, like every plan, this is going to change through the 4 years, but it at least gives you a starting point. It puts you on a path that tells you like, okay, these are the classes that you might want to attack in your freshman year, these are the classes you want to take in your sophomore, and so on. So try to create that high school plan. If you're completely clueless, like you might be like, hey Vidya, I know nothing about the high school here. I didn't go to high school here. Like, I don't know how it works. It works very differently from the high school that we went to probably way back in India. So if you don't know that, that is fine. Talk to one of the seniors that are already attending that high school. Take a list of their classes and look at how that pans out, you know, because there are prerequisites. And there is a freshman guidance night that happens before, like the spring semester of your eighth grade. There is a night that happens. Go to that guidance night. Do not skip it. Go to that guidance night because that is where you will get all the information about your high school courses. So that's your freshman year, right? Most of the freshmen, their courses are already decided for them. There is very, very little wiggle room. You know, the things starts opening up only from sophomore. And once you start looking at the courses, you'll actually understand this. The sophomore year, the summer before sophomore year is when you should be doing your summer programs, right? That should be your first summer because you get 2 summers to do this essentially. The summer before sophomore, summer before junior, because summer before senior, you're already in your college applying phase. So look into your summer programs. Look at what summer programs that you want to attend. You know, how do you apply for them? You know, what are the prerequisites? What are the requirements for it? If you want to do some research, you know, that okay, somebody can others mute please. Yeah, research into that. And if there are any prerequisite classes that you want to take during summer to get ahead in your sophomore year, that's the time to do it. Okay, so if let's say you want to take advanced math and you want to attack some of your foundational math classes, you know, that's the summer to do it. So that's your summer, that's your summer before sophomore. Summer before junior, you should start thinking about taking tests because junior year is when you're going to take your standardized test. We'll have a whole section about like standardized tests. So, but that is when you're going to be taking your standardized test. Like you will take your PSAT in 10th grade as well. But the PSAT in your 11th grade also leads towards your national merit scholarship and so on. So that's when you get serious about test taking, you start preparing. You know, if you want to attend like prep classes for your test, the summer before junior is something that you want to do. You should also continue to build your profile, right? Like if you started some research program, let's say summer before sophomore, continue, go deeper into that, go back and do it. Find internships, find local internships that you might want to do, find local volunteering that you might want to do. Start thinking about your college list. Start thinking about what are your colleges that you want to kind of apply to, start thinking about why you want to apply to those colleges. Okay, so that's all about, like, your junior year. The summer before senior year, it's all about applications, right? You start writing your essays, stay on top of all your application deadlines, maintain your grades, very important. Senioritis will kick in at some point during the senior year because you're so sick and tired of doing all these things. So try to keep up with your grades. Okay, so that's your entire high school. And parents, believe it or not, it'll go up in a jiffy. You think it's 4 long years, those 4 long years are going to be so short that you wish, you know, you actually enjoyed the journey a lot more. Okay, trust me on this one. I keep using the word you. The you is very contextual, right? Like if when I'm talking about all these things, the you is referring to the student. In certain other slides, I may refer to you for you as the parent. Okay, so contextually understand my you. Okay, so what are the main parts of a college application? What constitutes a college application? Your academics, right? Your GPA, your weighted and your unweighted GPA. Okay, your weighted GPA comes in when you take honors classes, when you take your AP classes, so those that becomes your weighted GPA. The unweighted GPA is all your classes, right? Like all equally weighted or unweighted and goes on a 4.0 scale. The weighting is what pushes some of the GPA above the 4.0, but that's one main part of your college application. The AP classes, the number of AP classes, we'll talk more about AP classes in a bit. Letters of recommendation, typically there are two teacher recommendations and one counselor recommendation from your high school. Now, this is something that you as parents can help your kid. How? Is ask them or at least coach them to create that relationship with their high school teachers. You know, work with their high school teachers over their 4 years. Pick one high school teacher or actually two high school teachers that know them personally, that can write very strong letters of recommendation. A lot of high schools also ask for your perspective as a parent to talk about, like, how your student is, from your perspective, because all of that is fed into these letters of recommendation, and the letters of recommendation do help with your application process. Your essays are, the next best thing. Like from a student's perspective, what can they do best? Academics, obviously. Essays is the next one, right? This is your personal, like the student's personal story, right? The personal essays and the supplemental essays. Now, many times what happens is the student writes the personal essays, like they revise it so many times, they craft it really well, and then forget about these supplemental essays. Like they just go and write something in their supplemental. Don't do it. Give yourself enough time to also craft your supplemental essays just as well as you would do your personal essays. And things have changed quite drastically, I would say, in the last 2 years. The one big red flag, I would say, is please don't ask large language models to write your essays. It is very tempting, you know, don't do it. Why? Because it's very plasticky. It's not you. It is your story. You are the one telling that story. So please make sure that it is you telling that story rather than some AI agent somewhere. Okay. Test scores. Test scores are optional, and we'll talk a little bit more about test scores. So you can either take the SAT or the ACT or take none of them. That doesn't matter. And we'll talk about why you should or shouldn't take these standardized tests. Activities, your research activities, your volunteer work. If you're working part time somewhere, all that information goes into your college application, and all your extracurricular activities. This is your arts, crafts, sports, anything else that you're good at, and or even like trying outside of school, you know, all goes into it. The character, right? The character attributes is something that the colleges do look for. Now, while there is no direct input into the into the application itself, this is coming from your essays. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why your essays should be tailored to the college that you're applying, because the colleges are going to read your essay and see whether you are a student that fits into their mission and values. Okay, so do not write like a one size fits all essay and just change, college names and try to send it out. You know, really tailor it to that college. Like if you're trying to really get into a particular college, tailor it to that college, tailor it to the program that you're actually trying to apply to. So, any questions so far? Anything that, I mean, for most of you, this should already be kind of obvious, you know. Okay, moving on. Okay, standardized testing, you know. I know like some of you are probably not California specific or California focused, but if you are in California, UCs no longer take the SAT or ACT. They've done away with standardized tests. Okay. But that said, the rest of the US is still, taking SATs and ACTs. There are some colleges that make tests optional, but if you're looking for highly selective colleges, they still look for standardized tests. Okay. And eventually they might start giving their own standardized tests instead of the SAT or ACT. But until such a time, ACT and ACT are there, and it is better for your student to take it than not take it. That I would leave it at that. Now, what should you take? Should you take SAT or ACT? That really depends on the student. You know, there are some students who fare better at an SAT. There are some students who find ACT much better. Okay.
Well, you said a few systems would go offline.
Was that a question? Is that a question? Sorry. Okay. So in my personal case, my son did very well with the SAT, so he took the SAT. My daughter tried both SAT and ACT, and she figured she was much better with the ACT, so that's what she used for applying. Okay. So each student is different. So the best way to do that is try. Like take a mock test, take a mock SAT, take a mock ACT, figure out which one you speaks to you, and then based on that, decide which one you want to prepare for. Should I take? Again, like I said, many colleges are test optional now. This started with COVID and the difficulties in actually getting tested. But selective schools still consider tests, so therefore you're better off doing it. How should I prepare for standardized tests? You can either go attend prep classes or you can self prep. Now, again, like I said, this is all dependent on the student. If your student is already self motivated, they're doing well in their mock, you know, they just need more practice, just do the self prep. Like, get your practice tests, go online, find practice tests, buy the standard SAT practice book and practice those tests. You're totally fine. Um, there are certain other students that are not very good at test taking. It's not that they're not smart, it's just that they're not good at test taking. Now, remember that the SAT questions are very different than the questions that they would face in their regular classes. Okay, it's very different. The technique that you would need for solving SAT questions are very different than what their regular math class or their regular English class is going to teach them. So if your student falls into that category, then obviously, like, give them that additional help, get them that additional help. The one thing that I would say in about in class, like especially with group classes, is the group only proceeds as quickly as the slowest student in class. Okay, so there, that may or may not work for your student. Again, there are multiple options, right? Like you can do in class, like a group setting, you can do one on one tutoring if you want, or you can just go at it alone. There are also test only prep options that are available. There are some um, companies in your locality that would offer you, like every Saturday, all they would do is give you an SAT. That's it. So you go there 4 weeks, get 4 mock tests, get it analyzed by the counselor, and that's it. You're done. Like your prep is done. Okay. And when should I take it? Again, it's a very personal choice. I would say at least take one in your junior year. Okay, at least one in your junior year. Of course, you can push it all the way to your senior year. Doesn't matter, as long as you get it done before you apply, you're fine. But doing it in the junior year allows you or gives you the flexibility of time to retake it if you're not satisfied with your first score. Okay, so that is why you should probably take it in your junior year. Now, junior year is going to get very, very crowded, right? Because there's going to be AP classes, there's going to be standardized testing. There's also going, like their extracurriculars are also getting intense. If they're in sport, they're already in varsity. If they're in music, they're doing a lot of traveling. So it's going to get very intense. But that is the nature of the journey. So, but definitely take one attempt in your junior year. And the key to doing standardized tests well is practice, practice, practice. And as you practice, and you as parents can observe this, they would get better. They would get better. And at some point, you would see that they're kind of plateauing. That is probably a good time for them to take an attempt, you know. So don't wait until they get bored of it and they start sinking again. You know, this again, standardized tests are not a measure of your smartness. It's not a measure of your intelligence. It is just giving you a timed way to, standardize or make like a comparison point between different students. That's all. Okay. So prepare for it. When you're about to plateau or you think you're plateauing, take a attempt, you know, and then if you're satisfied with your score, great. You don't have to do anything more. If you're not,
Montreal's the worst airport. Being
if you're not, there's always time for a retake. Okay. So, um, again, more points regarding this, because this is one of the things that most like students trip on, right? Do a free diagnostic, talk to the counselor, like most companies do this, you know, show up for one of their seminars and sign up for like, you know, um, the SAT, ACT diagnostic, take one mock SAT, one mock ACT, figure out like what they would prefer to take, talk to the counselor about the mistakes you made, get some, tips on that. If you're taking ACT alone, if you're not going to take SAT alone, it may not be enough, especially if you're trying for the National Merit Scholarship. Because the National Merit Scholarship is based on your PSAT, like your 11th grade PSAT, which is also called the NMQAT, or National Merit Qualifying Aptitude Test or something, okay, which qualifies like the top X percentile students for the national merit. But I think there's a second round, and I think that requires a SAT score, but definitely check with your guidance counselor regarding this. Some kids take both SAT and ACT, some take only one, you know, it's up to you. Okay. The number of attempts, don't go more than three. I mean, more than three is already an overkill. At that point, you're better off just taking the optional, like test optional route and not submitting a score, you know. And SAT, ACT, they can see all your attempts. They can actually see all your attempts. They choose to ignore or they choose to super score. If check when you do your college, check if your college accepts super score. Super score is basically SAT has multiple sections and ACT does.
పని అనా ఎవరైనా
Okay. Uh, so they have multiple sections. Let's say your student takes, you know, um, SAT. Okay, does great in reading and writing, but is not doing as good in MA or in math. Okay, in their second attempt, they can focus on math. And if your college super scores, then they will take the best of the section scores across these two attempts. Okay. So please verify if your college, like you can go online and check if they accept super scoring. If they don't, then they are going to take only one, like whichever attempt you want them to take. That's it. Okay. So if they are going to super score, then you're better off retaking it because there is an option, there is an opportunity for you to improve. If they are not going to super score, then you have to really weigh the pros and cons of retaking. Eighth grade SAT, ACT, if your kid is in eighth grade, if you're one of those overambitious parents that want their kid to take SAT in their eighth grade, it's not useful. Your college is not going to worry about it. They're not going to look at it. Okay. So better wait until they get to high school to actually do this. Okay. AP courses. This is an interesting one, right? What's an AP course? It's advanced placement courses. It gives you a bump in your GPA, right? So unlike your regular courses, which are graded on a 4.0, AP courses are graded on a 5.0, but your overall GPA still comes to a 4.0, which is why you get 4 point something over 4 for your GPA. This is your weighted GPA. Now, why advanced placement courses? These are college level rigor courses. They are very, very taxing. There's a lot of work. It's like college level classes. Okay. The main reason for taking AP courses is two things. One is you demonstrate to the colleges that you are able to take college level classes and be good at them. Okay, that's a way for your student to demonstrate academic rigor. Okay, the second, and as parents probably the more important one, is you get college credit. Okay, you get college credit, and that means your kid can take lesser classes. Number of classes that they need for graduation is much less. Okay, and that helps with graduation earlier, which means you save money. you know so you, again, it depends college to college. You have to figure out if your college, like what AP classes your college accepts, right? Now, the general rule of thumb that I would say for AP classes, like whether my student should take AP classes or not, is if there are classes that do not count to their towards their major, and the college gives you college credit for these AP classes, I think you should take it. And this applies to like language, to, like, I'm just assuming, like, if let's say your student is a STEM major. Okay, so they want to do engineering, physics, you know chemistry, whatever, biology. If that is the case and language classes are accepted for college credit, by all means, your student should take it and remove that requirement from the college classes. One is because, again, you can graduate early, but even if you're not graduating early, this gives you the opportunity to take more major related classes. Instead of sitting in, say, an English class or a history class as a STEM major, you can actually take more advanced physics or advanced chemistry, or even graduate level classes in some cases, as an undergrad. Okay, and that helps you with anything that you want to do after your college. So that is one reason to take your AP classes. Okay, so I would say that in and of itself is one main reason. Like, that's one choice to do. The second choice is to show that you are good at a particular major. Let's say you're applying for a physics major. Taking AP Physics, by the way, is one of the hardest AP classes. Okay. So if by taking AP Physics, you're demonstrating again to your college that you are good at physics. Okay. So even though you may not claim a college credit, even though they might ask you to still do some physics classes there, you're demonstrating to your college that, hey, I'm really good at physics and I want to continue studying that for my higher education. Okay. So that's the, I mean, that's the rule of thumb that I and my kids used for choosing, and I would say most kids use for choosing which AP classes to do. How does it apply to college admissions? The way college admissions look at it is how many AP classes have you taken vis-a-vis the opportunity that is available to you. For example, if your school offers 22 AP classes and your student has taken 10 of them, that's 10 out of 22. They had the option of taking 22. Obviously, not everybody is going to take 22, but they took 10 of them. That is compared with, let's say, another high school student whose high school only offers them 10 and they've taken all 10, right? So obviously the person like or the student who's taken all 10 AP classes that is offered at their school, gets slightly like weighted slightly above of a school that has offered a lot of AP classes, but your student has only taken a small. Like take the other extreme, right? Your school offered like 22 AP classes, your student only took two. So that's the kind of way it is compared. So that way they are comparing, more equitably rather than just plainly saying like, oh, you need to take like 12 AP classes regardless of how it is, right? So that's one thing. In there's a lot to discuss, like there's a lot to understand under AP classes, so I'm not going to go too much. If you have specific questions, I can answer later. You don't have to take all APs uh, at school. Like you can self study. There are self study options. There are outside classes that are available. For example, Brigham Young is one university that offers AP classes for self study. I've put the link in the resources section, so you can go. It's like a couple of hundreds for one class. They give you all the materials. You study. If your student is self motivated, they can do it. They can go register for the AP exam through their school and take it along with the rest of the students. Um, the number of APs that you take is very, very dependent on the student, on also the colleges that you're trying to apply to. Be very strategic about your AP class selection. Don't do AP just because it's an AP. Okay. Okay. So moving on. Any questions so far on standardized tests or APs? I'll also give you some time, maybe towards the end. Okay, finding the right college for you. Okay, there is again, no one size fits all. Do you always have to go with top ranking schools? No, you have to go with schools which will let your student be happy and thrive. Okay, every school offers, good education. Like there is a basic standard level of education that every university in this country has to offer, and they do that. Now, every school is also different in social life, in academics, in the finance. Like how much does it cost to go to the school? You know, um, the values that they have. Some of these schools are denominational, right? So that teaches a completely different set of values versus universities that are non-denominational, right? Public universities are very different than private universities. So there's a lot of factors that go into a university environment. So really have to figure out, like, is my student going to be happy and thrive in this environment? Okay. UC Berkeley is not for everyone. Okay. Um, UCLA is not for everyone. University of Michigan is not for everyone. UIUC is not for everyone. Okay. There are students who absolutely thrive in small private, liberal arts colleges. They love it. They love it there. Okay. There are students who thrive in big public universities. They absolutely thrive there. Okay. So it all depends on your student. Okay. Get to know the student's interests, preferences, discover what, like, you really want to know what qualities. Like, do you want a big university? Do you want a small university? Do you want to stay close to home? Do you not want to stay close to home? Do you, is there like location preferences, like do you want to be in a cold East Coast like climate? Do you want to be in the South with like sunny weather? Do you want to be stay in California and enjoy good weather all year round? You know, create an initial list that matches these criteria. Research your chances of getting into these colleges and organize them into reach, maybe and likely. Okay. By the way, your school, high school guidance will also kind of go over this. Okay. I've also put in a few links for college tracker templates that you can feel free to use it, feel free to copy over and use those. Um, Figure out how many colleges you want to apply to. A good, I would say, at least in California, majority of the kids apply to roughly 10 to 20 colleges. Okay. I know other places, like, for example, some kids in the East Coast apply to less than 10 colleges. You know, there are some kids who only apply to 5 colleges. They're very clear about their choices, you know. So, again, everything is different. Narrow down your results into your final list of colleges. Remember, if you have many colleges, yes, you're hedging your bets, but you also have to put equal amount of effort into writing all those personal essays and your supplemental essays. It's a lot of work. If you apply to 20 plus colleges, you're going to spend a lot of time writing those essays. Okay. So be very, very conscious about what you put in that list. Okay. So one of the things that I spoke about is research, right? Do your research about these colleges. How do you do this research? One of the very lesser known technique is Google search for whatever is your college common data set. Now, every college publishes this every year. They are expected to. Now, they may optionally leave out some data, doesn't matter, but they have to publish this result. And if you look at the common data set for the past like couple of years, you'll get a good sense of, number of applicants that they get, like number of applications, first year applications that they get, the admissions like that they send out, their yield, and definitely look for section C. There's a section C in common data set. This tells you the incoming class profile. What does this tell you? This tells you, first of all, what are their standardized test scores? What is the 50th percentile? What is the 75th percentile? Okay, so that gives you a good sense. What is their incoming GPA? You know, it also gives you a section of what the colleges consider important in their evaluation. Okay, is academics the number one thing that they look for? Are they looking for letters of recommendation, whether it is important, not very important? Um, do they look for your extracurricular activities? One of the very common things that especially a lot of Ivies do is interviews, right? Like alumni interviews. Okay. Now, a lot of students will attend these interviews. Now, does it really help them in their admission? Most likely not. Okay. That interview means nothing. It's more for the student to know a little bit more about the student life rather than, the college getting to know about the student. Okay. So, so look at that list. That tells you a lot about what goes into the college admission process. Rankings, I've only used US News rankings. Now, are rankings important? Again, not really. Okay. But if you are one of those people that figures like, okay, there is some merit to certain rankings, by all means, go and look at US News rankings. There is a Compass subscription that you can pay for. I think it's about $60 per year.
No, you're not on.
$60 per year right now. Okay. So it's completely optional. You don't have to buy it. But if you do, you get all these more detailed rankings and more detailed information about the school itself. Look for the parameters of ranking. What are they considering? Are they like, for example, if your student thrives in small classrooms, okay, they don't like seminar style classrooms. They want like a good student to professor ratio. But if that is not something that the ranking is taking into account, then that ranking means nothing to you. right? Like it can be number one university in US according to this ranking. But if they have like all their classes are like 200 students plus, then your student is going to hate it. You know, they're not going to get that personal attention that they actually want. On the other hand, if your um, student is more looking for social life, like fraternities, sororities, okay? If that is something that the ranking is taking into account, then the ranking means something to you. So look for those parameters and see if it resonates with you. There is also niche. There are multiple tons and tons of uh, websites like this. Niche is free of cost. It provides you a scattergram based on user reports. So like people come in and report their admission stats. So it kind of gives you, like, if you put in your standardized test and your GPA, it gives you a scattergram that says like, oh, you're in this region, like you're in the top left. And so there's a, again, means nothing. It's like throwing, dart on a dartboard. But at least, you're going to go through so much of anxiety during this time. Anything to make you calmer a little bit, if it helps, by all means, look at it. If it doesn't help, if it induces more anxiety, stop looking at it. Don't do it. It's not useful. It's not useful in that sense, but it's kind of giving you some kind of an idea. Definitely look at college websites. This is, again, this is something that a lot of students overlook. Look at the college websites, look through the professors' pages, look through the research groups, you know, because this will help you personalize your essay towards that college. Like, for example, if you are trying to do like a computer science degree and you want to specialize, let's say, because everybody is doing it right now, AI. Okay. Look at the college website. Who are the professors that are actually doing AI in that college? You know, what are they working on? What kind of research is going on there? Because you can pull that information into your personal essays. Okay. And when the admissions committee is reading your personal essays, they see your effort. Okay. This is one of the ways in which you can demonstrate your interest in that college. Okay. Instead of doing like a very templated version of it. Okay. College application tracker, I already said, like I've put some samples in the reference, not my, I mean, I've used some of, like, customized it based on my requirement, based on those templates. Feel free to copy and customize. Okay. Every person uses, organizes this information differently. So try to do it. Okay. Not once you're gone through this process of down like shortlisting your colleges, you can plan for your college visit. Okay. So there are some nice infograms here. The main thing that I would say is it is very tempting to visit a college during summer. Please don't. It's a waste of your time. Unless all you want to see is like how is the building and how is the lawn, it's not useful at all. Try to go there during fall or at least during spring. Okay, fall is probably the best thing because a lot of things are happening. People are coming in, a lot of new classes are starting. Your student may even be able to go sit through some of these classes, and look at, get a feel for these lectures. Spring is also good, you know. Weather-wise, it might be slightly better. Fall might also be busy with their high school, so visiting might not be possible. But definitely don't go there during summer, or and before you go, figure out when the colleges have their spring break. Now the college spring break is different than the high school spring break, so please be aware of that. When the university is on a break, the campus is dead. You won't even get food. Okay, it's that dead. Okay, so there's no point in going to a campus visit during that time. um, there are a few more things. The timing, you can go before you apply. So that way, if you're already traveling, let's say you're going to meet your cousins somewhere in the Midwest, go and visit all the colleges there. You're already going there anyways, right? If and if you're trying to decide after you've gotten your admits, sign up for the guided tours. That gives you a good feel for how the campus is. Is it something that you want to spend the next 4 years of your life? And is it a legacy that you want to carry for the rest of your life? Okay, so those are things that you should be thinking of. Find other students, find senior students. They can give you an unofficial tour. They can take you to the dorm. They can take you to the dining hall. They can even swipe meals for you. You know, use this time to check things that are very important to you. Okay, dorms obviously are important. Maybe you don't spend a lot of time in the dorms, but it's still your home for the first year. So, do you like the dorms? Are they super crowded? Are you going to be comfortable there? What about the food? Are you vegetarian? Does the dining hall provide you good vegetarian options? If not, how are you going to find good food on campus? Climate, especially, if they're California kids used to good weather year round, East Coast colleges might be a shock to the system. So figure out all of these things. Um, make arrange time to meet with the professors, especially if there are professors that you would like to, work with. Use this as a opportunity to introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm trying to apply here, or I've already gotten admitted. I would love to work with you. You know, professors love to meet students. I've been a professor. I can guarantee you, if a student emails me and says like, hey, professor, I really want to come and meet you, you know, I would absolutely make time for that student. Okay. So professors love to meet students. The students are very hesitant to reach out. Please encourage your students to reach out, especially if they like a professor and like their work. Okay, so that's a lot of information already. Quick thing about like a few different ways in which you can apply to colleges. There's the regular decision. You know, if you don't want to, think about too many things, just look at the first column here, regular decision. That's all you need to know. You don't need to worry about anything else. Okay. The main confusion comes between early action and early decision. Early decision is good if there is one dream college that you want to apply to. And if you get in, you're absolutely going to go there because it is binding. Once you apply early decision to a college, it is binding and you will have to go there. If they give you an admission, you have to go there. Early action, on the other hand, is non binding, but it allows you to avoid the regular rush. It's almost like leaving for office at 7 a.m. in the morning because you can avoid the rush hour traffic. So you'll join a lesser number of applicant pool. Your applications will get a little more time from the admissions committee, and you'll also get your decisions earlier. you know so early action is non-binding. Now, certain private colleges have something called as restricted early action. Okay, Stanford being one of them. Now, what is restricted early action? It is non-binding. You don't have to attend if you get in, you know, but um, it prevents you, or it prohibits you from applying to any other private college. Okay, so a lot of like some of the well-known Ivies actually have an REA. Like Harvard is one, Stanford, though not an Ivy, does have an REA. So you apply early action, it's similar to early action, but you can only apply to other public university early action, not to other private universities. Okay, so those are kind of your options. Of course, there is rolling admission. Now, this is a great option for you, like for you as parents to appease your anxiety if you want. Okay. So if you know there's a rolling university admission and you want to absolutely make sure that your kid goes to some like good 4 year college, apply to one of the rolling admissions. You'll get your admission almost like, within like the next few weeks. And then at least you have that peace of mind that there's a plan B, while you're waiting for your regular decisions to trickle in. Okay. So those are all something. Okay. Ashok is probably going to cover this in more detail. Main thing about
Yes.
paying for college is there's very few options for non-need based scholarships. 529, he'll probably talk about it. FAFSA, this is one thing I would strongly recommend everybody to fill it, even if you're not qualifying for need based scholarship. There's a federal work study program. It's not much, but at least it's not a loan. Like your student has to work, but it's also need based, but it's not as stringent as the financial aid. So you may be able to get like a federal work study thing. Obviously, you can take student loan. Now, community college to 4-year program is a great way to save some money, you know, and that's the transfer process. Okay. So most important thing, you as parent, I as parent, what can I do? You know, I want to really do the best for my kid. What can I do? Okay. First of all, acknowledge to yourself and to your team that this is a stressful time. College admissions, like the entire process, is very stressful for you and more so also for your team. Actually, that's debatable because I think it was more stressful for the parents mostly than for the kids. The kids were like, it's going to happen. Okay. Be a sounding board. Don't be judgmental. If they want to come like bounce opinions off of you, they want to discuss options, be that receptive sounding board. Okay. Find other adult partners that can help in this process. If there are adults that your teens will talk to, will open up to, you know even if it's not you, how much ever it hurts your ego as a parent. you know Find uncles, aunts, friends in the community that your teen can open up and talk and get some guidance, get some advice on. Help them with the process without bossing them. you know and I'm repeating that because a lot of parents tend to do this. I'll repeat this in the last point as well. Build the college list together. Okay, help them build that college list. Help them sound it out and build those college lists. Help them with organizing. You as adults are definitely better at organization and keeping track of dates. You've kept track of your soccer practices and the snack schedule. Okay, so you're much better at it. Help them with it. Okay, again, don't be judgmental. They are not going to remember. They are teenagers. They have a lot of work. High school is stressful. There's a lot going on at high school. Help them with this. Okay, and celebrate efforts and not necessarily just the outcomes. Okay, if they are putting a lot of effort into their personal essay, celebrate that. Appreciate that. Be really, what to say, positive reinforcement into this. You're not their boss. A lot of us who work in the tech industry, we hear the opposite a lot of times at companies, right? Like, you don't get rewarded for your effort, you get rewarded for the outcome. You're not their boss, you're their parent. So celebrate their efforts, not just the outcomes. Okay.
Amazing.
How are we doing on
Yeah, I
time?
was going to, yeah, we are good on, we are actually already 8. So,
Sorry.
uh, no, I can see the passion. Amazing, amazing wealth of information. I'm glad I'm recording this. So, considering the time, I'm going to kind of hold on to the questions. I'll encourage all the participants to send the questions to us. Then I can
Oh,
route it to you. There's one
so
question Bala Murugan has asked. So I would like you to address that, Vidya. Is that okay?
yeah, sure.
Okay. Is there a different college application process for art school? And his daughter would like to study animation. Is the essay process any different?
Uh, okay. I have to admit when I don't know things, I do not
No,
know.
we can get back with them, right?
We
Yeah,
can
we can
definitely
get back.
get back
So
to
Bala
this.
Murugan, like we will get back to you with the right answer,
Yeah,
if that is okay.
because I don't want to mislead them
Sure.
into
No,
anything.
I'm going to capture all these questions, and then I can connect with you offline, and we'll reach back to them. That's the whole purpose. So thank you so much, Vidya. I can see how much effort you put and what the passion that you have. So thank you so much. So now, is it okay? Now I'll take the
Sure.
topic to the next one. Help everybody. So here, is there any parent who has has done any funding plan for your kids, or are you looking for one? It may not be for your college going kid, it could be for the second one, right? So if you could volunteer yourself, and I'm going to start my screen sharing, so that will be good. Yes, absolutely. So now everybody in this call, we are going to share the link for this presentation, just to let you know. So if you didn't, if you're probably busy in the middle and you couldn't capture it, no worries, right? So absolutely no worries. So like I said, my name is Ashok. My wife Raji. I'm full-time doing this business, passionately helping the community with various financial services. More importantly, I'm an entrepreneur. I provide business opportunity in this industry so that we can support and mentor people and to become entrepreneur. So a lot of things we can talk about, but today my goal is to focus on how you can build a legacy with your kids. So I call it as a college and beyond. So how can you do that? Like Vidya was talking about, there are many options, but let me ask any parent here, what are the key elements you look for when you are thinking about college funding? Can somebody come off of the mute? Like
How
what?
the how
Huh?
the scholarship works?
Wonderful. One aspect is scholarship. So you might have noticed in Vidya's slides that you may not get a scholarship, right? So that is something as an immigrant, as a high income earners, we all have to be really cognizant about. I'm talking about you as a parent decide to fund for your kids' college. So first thing we have to understand the purpose, right? And then this is your hard-earned income. How about market volatility? Isn't it the best time to talk about it? What's going on right now? Right? It's just a coincidence. I did not plan for any of those market crash, by the way. I am not involved in that. But how about this one? Annual contribution limit, like tax. Isn't it a big topic? Tax. So I would consider market risk and tax as one of those two topics. And rightly, who was I didn't hear who was speaking. That assets, financial aid. You talked about that. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So can we consider all these elements? And I want to bring up the one most common one, 529. Is there anybody in the audience who have done a 529 already? Oh, I don't have to even ask whether Vidya has done it or not. No doubt, right? Absolutely. Anyone else?
Steve,
Um,
I have a question.
yes.
What's the legacy funding plan 529?
Which is a well-known, plan that exists available in all states. That's why we usually call it legacy plan. It is a 529 is one of the plan, but I'm going to compare that with another plan today that I'm bringing up, because you could go to any bank and get to know, or you can Google and get to know a lot of information about 529. But today I'm bringing one strategy that will add a lot of value on, on top of it 529 or as an alternative to 529, because a lot of people have many questions.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah, sure. So purpose of 529, it's only for education, right? That is what it is designed for. So there are a lot of people have many questions. What if I don't need a fund? What if I get completely sponsored? Or what if I go back to India? Many questions comes to their mind when they think about it. So how about you finding another plan that goes beyond education? You could use it if you don't use it, and you can also come as a legacy wealth building. That's what I'm going to today cover. 529 largely known as impacted by market volatility. Right? So it does impact when a market is down. So the plan that I'm going to share, you would have the protection against market volatility, right? And then typically 529 has certain limit, depends on the state. On an average, like I would say $8,000 or so as annual contribution limit. How about you as a parent? If you have affordability, can you have a more relaxed limit where you could do 10,000, 12,000 and beyond? So that's another thing that I'm going to compare, and definitely tax free for qualified education. But if you don't use it, then it's not a tax free. With another plan that's available, it's known as 7702. That's a plan I'm going to share with you. So that is something gives you option as a tax-free, any withdrawal for any purpose. The last question someone asked, right? So if you have 529, it's largely known as, accessible by college, how much you as a parent have money in that account. So it impacts directly, financial aid for your child. Okay. So this one has no financial aid. Okay. Great. Today I'm not on the double screen. So Prasad or somebody, please watch on the chart and then control accordingly, if we can, please. Great. So let me bring up a simple case so we can close it in few minutes. So again, we all know, Elon Musk. So on a lighter note, I'm bringing someone Musk ready here. And isn't it our typical portfolio? We all have a 401k stocks and real estate. And knowing that all these are market risk and tax risk, how many of you know that end of this year, the tax is going to go high by another 2%? So it's called, Tax Cut Job Act. That particular rule is coming to end. So if you Google it, you will know from starting from next year, tax is going to go high. So a lot of you know about Roth 529 plans, which has the tax, risk elimination, but there is no market risk, protection. So I'm bringing it to you as one of the strategy to add on top of your existing portfolio. You could bring another approved IRS driven plan called 7702 plan. It, that can be used to build like a fund for your kids' college education and beyond. Correct? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So it looks something like this. If you can take a look at it here, given a chance, where would your hard-earned money to be? Do you want to be in the blue line or in the variable line, which is a red graph, or a green one? So how about you having an option to build your kids' college education plan on this green one? That's what we're talking about. It is called index contract. The 7702 is the IRS code given in the industry of life insurance, where you could put the money and that can build as assets for college purpose and beyond. So that is the context we are talking about. Okay, great. So how many of you know what is your tax strategy today? Are you applying a taxable strategy or tax deferred strategy or tax advantaged? Right? This is a typical allocation. People have very little money on tax advantage, like 529 or Roth, very tiny portion of your portfolio sitting. And you could really increase your tax advantage bucket to something larger. So it solves your life purpose, college education and beyond. That's what we're talking about here. Okay, great. So with that context, I want to give a parent who decides to do this 7702 plan. Here is an opportunity for you. You could, as a parent, put money in this plan that can build a huge asset that you can take it out anytime. Like in this example, a 40-year-old individual has taken this particular plan on their name, and 15 years, 16 years down the line, or 10 years down the line, their child goes to the college. You can pull out the money and use it for college or any purpose for that matter. Right? So this is an option number one that I want to show it for a parent doing a plan that he was to primarily use it for their kids going to college. Or it could be if the kids get the college sponsorship, sponsorship, then you can use it for marriage or any other purpose for that matter, right? So that is a option here, right here. If you are looking at a smaller money, let's say you want to build just a 200K. Let's say you are, your middle school going, or your elementary level school kid getting ready for college. You could come here and put your money and build a 200K wealth that you can take it out as a tax free for your child, right? So that same option, but the numbers, just to get to know the concept, how you can use it so that you can apply it based on your need. So individually, I can sit with you and show you. But here is the main reason, the main thing that I want to show you. Let's say your child age is like 10 years old, and you as a parent, you can contribute like $816 per month. In the next 12 years, you contributed 117K. That leads you to taking out 150K cash out and pay it for college. Here is the real value starts. The money still works for you behind the scene on this plan. And as the kids grow and then they get into their early retirement age, they will have more money to access. Unlike any other plan, like let's say 529 or anywhere else that you have money, when you take out, that account gets closed. But here you can take out money, and then the money participates in the growth behind the scene. That's what we are talking about. So basically, a parent who contributed 117K leads to $3.8 million in the first generation accessible tax-free money. And also because it comes under the life insurance industry, when your child leaves a big money as a death benefit to the second generation. So in summary, you are looking at a simple 117K of your hard-earned money contributing towards your child future, that leading into almost $13 million in next 85 plus years. That is the kind of wealth building strategies that you have as an alternate option if you are having a lot of questions and not sure whether 529 works for you, the stability and so many other things that we compare. Okay, does that make sense? Anybody who is looking at it, consider this as an alternate option. Reach out to me after this call, or I can reach out to you and we can help you. So this slide gives you whether you are dealing with a 5-year and below or 10-year and below, or you are right here in this call for the purpose of college, which is 15-year-old going to high school. In whatever scenario you are in, we can design personalized to your purpose and contribute. Obviously, you will see a huge difference if you started early versus you want to start now. That goes without saying, right? Because you don't have time for compounding, but the concept, the logic works absolutely for you to be able to build that, the college funding for your child and give them a very good start. This fund could be used by them if they want to get, buy their first home, or they want to as a head start fund for their business, whatever that may be, right? So you are setting a success for your child. You are setting a legacy for your child. So do you want to, so that's what I was comparing with the legacy 529 plan versus a plan that will generate a wealth and create a new legacy for your generation to come. Okay. So whatever may be the need, you let us know, you reach out to us, and then we'll help you. Right. So with that, here is my contact. Feel free to take use your phone and reach out to me. This would take you directly to my WhatsApp, and then I can help with your financial need analysis or anything that you need for everyone. Okay. Awesome. So that's what I wanted to cover. Now, the good news is, I was able to short it down and then, give a condensed version. So let's go to the maybe next few minutes. Let's use it as a question and answer time. We have, Vidya's time available. I'm available for a few minutes. So let's do that. So, yeah, thank you. So Swami asked a question. Yes, it is basically for one child. That's answer. Prasad already answered it. Thank you. Great. Any other questions coming to your mind based on the plan that I just showed? Right. So as a parent, if you're all here, one more thing that I always like to bring it to your attention. How many of you know who is in this call aware of estate planning, living will and trust? That is something goes without saying, as you are thinking about putting your child on college and beyond, please make sure that you're taking care of basic things such as estate planning, living will and trust, right? And then please make sure that as a community, you take care of basic life insurance, term life insurance. Do it from somebody, but don't be dependent on your employer. Those are the things that I always encourage everybody, because as you are in a critical stage, your child is going into the college, you want to make sure you cross those basic things, right? So those are the things that I educate, advocate to community, because we are seeing a lot of things, especially after COVID. A lot of unfortunate things are happening in our community, right? So be cognizant about it, and then make sure that you're protecting your family in a right way. Great. Any other questions coming to anybody's mind before we end the day?
Hi, I have a question. This is Sunita, and I
Hello,
have a
Sunita.
question for Vidya.
Yes, go ahead.
I have two kids, and my older one is in 8th grade right now. And a few days back, we were discussing about, what he needs to do, like because next year he is going to be in high school, 9th grade. Um, So we see a lot of kids, almost all the kids. Like my question to you is, how much weight do the extracurricular activities add towards getting admission into a top college? I know there are a lot of criteria, but like we see nowadays, all the kids are doing everything. Probably when you get a resume or an application, everything looks the same. Everybody is doing sports, music, martial arts, and you name it, right? There are
Yeah.
like a number of activities everybody is doing, and it probably looks all the same. So we are like very confused, and he is also confused. Like when he goes into ninth grade, and is it too late to add something? You
It,
know, he's definitely a STEM oriented kid, but he's not sure, what extracurricular activities would like add value towards his journey towards the
okay.
college. He
Uh,
has, since he has 4 years now.
Yeah, very good question, and thank you for that. I absolutely understand your frustration, you know, because everybody, like, especially all these STEM kids, it's almost like a cookie cutter kind of thing that is happening, right? Like everybody wants. So in terms of how important it is, it is not as important as your academics, okay? But it demonstrates that your kid has interest outside of academics, right? Now, when it comes to extracurricular activities, this is something that, many college admissions committee tells you time and time again: quality over quantity. Okay, don't do four things and you're not specializing in any of them, but take one thing and specialize in it. If you're going to do, like, let's say, a sport, just focus on that sport, spend a lot of time, build your repertoire within that sport, stay committed to the activity. You don't need to have like a long list of activities. You just need to have very high quality activities, if that makes sense. And to your question, like, hey, is it too late? No, it's not too late. You still have 4 more years, but you also have to consider, what can he what can he do within these 4 years that not only builds up that quality, but also gives him time to do his regular academics, because that is also going to be important. Like, you cannot suddenly, like, spend like 20 hours like playing tennis and try to get to like a varsity level within high school, while also maintaining your grades and also doing all of the other like STEM you know extra, like, super uh, you know whatever, super calm, tough classes as well. So pick something, but show that commitment. I that is all I would say at this point.
Thank you.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank you
and,
for
and
that.
and you can also choose extracurricular activities that are more closely aligned with the field that he's trying
వీడు
to.
ఎట్లా ఫెయిల్ అవుతాడు దాన్ని లాస్ట్ టైం ఫెయిల్ అయ్యాడు.
Sorry, let me get.
So if he's a STEM kid, wants to do STEM, take activities that are more closely aligned with that. You know,
Do you have any pointers or any resources that we can look up or?
I can send you some links that you
Yeah,
can look
we can get back on that, Sunita. I'll follow up. I'm
Okay.
actually made a note of your question, so we'll follow up with you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great, great, great. Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? Great. Thank you so much, Vidya, again for your time.